Welkom terug naar een nieuwe video van mij en leuk dat je weer hier bent. Vandaag ga ik een beetje praten over wat ik de afgelopen 6 maanden heb gedaan, hoe ik Nederlands heb geleerd. Er is zoveel gebeurd. Het is echt ongelooflijk. Maar ik weet dat mijn output nog steeds heel slecht is, omdat ik het echt niet heb geoefend. Maar ja, ik ga deze video in het Engels doen. Maar ik dacht dat het misschien een goed idee zou zijn als ik een beetje in het Nederlands begin te praten. Omdat ik dan jullie kan laten zien wie slecht nog mijn Nederlands is. Maar ja, ik denk dat ik jullie ga een beetje vertellen over mijn Nederlands cursus die ik aan de universiteit heb gedaan. En ik heb heel erg veel gelezen. Dus dat zal een grote deel van deze video uitmaken. En ja, aan het eind wil ik misschien nog een beetje vertellen hoe ik vanaf nu verder ga met het Nederlands leren. Omdat ik nog altijd veel heb te leren. Veel te leren heb. Okay, that's it for the very chaotic Dutch introduction, but that's the best I can do right now. And I hope that gave you a tiny impression of my not so great Dutch output. But yeah, I've got my notes here. I wrote down some stats because I love stats. But before I share those, I just want to catch up everyone to where I'm currently at, or where I was with my last update video, I guess. So I started studying Dutch last year in about March for Langjam for 1 weekend. It was originally a 1 weekend challenge, but then I decided to continue, and that added up to, I think, 40 hours, yeah. I then quit Dutch, so in September I continued studying Dutch. I went through the Link mini stories, which is where I do most of my reading on Link. During that time I would also listen to YouTube every once in a while, not every day and not for long, but you know, every once in a while. And then I started reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which also had an audio version on Link, so I listened to it and read it at the same time. It was painful. I didn't know half of the words and I had to guess a lot, and I was listening and reading and listening and reading. It was a long, slow, painful process, but I think it really helped me a lot. And then I found out that we had a Dutch class at my university. I took a placement test after 6 weeks of being back into Dutch, and that is where my last update video ends. So that is where now I basically start. Okay, so now before I continue with the timeline, basically, I'll give you some stats and then I will later put them into context with the timeline. So right now, I'm at about 27 hours of YouTube content that I've watched since September the 1st. I'm at 34 hours of Link and 40 hours from the previous 5 weeks that I had done in last year of March. So that means I'm currently at just a bit above 100 hours of immersion, which is honestly, for 6 months of studying, that is nothing. But I'm gonna tell you why later. Or rather, I don't have a reason why, I'm just so focused on reading. So I'm currently on my 9th book that I'm reading. I've read so far 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I read on Link. Then one book I can't remember, but I do remember that I read another book. I read Anna Karenina on Link, I read The Little Prince on Link, I read the Inheritance tetralogy, the 4 parts of Aragon. And I'm currently reading The Hobbit. So all of that reading adds up to 1.57 million words. I really wanted to get to 1.6 million for this video, but it's okay, I'll get there in the next few days. I think that's actually, I'm really proud of that because I've read so much and it's a pretty big number, I'm not gonna lie. And my known word count, which is basically the words that I have marked on Link as known, are at 33,688 words. So that is pretty good. And if you have watched my 2021 language goal video, I said that I wanted to get to 30,000 words by the end of this year. So that's for reading. And then I've had a Dutch class, which I will talk about in a second. But for that Dutch class, obviously I had to speak a little bit, not as much as I thought I would. But apart from that, I haven't really talked to many people. I had like 3 conversations with people from Tandem. Two of them were pretty good. One guy was questionable. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really done a lot of output. That is why my speaking is still super bad. But I don't care because that's not the focus right now. Anyway, so now with all of these beautiful stats, let's actually put them into context. I was accepted into the B1 class. I had to do a placement test. Their speaking was above my level for sure because everyone had already practiced speaking for a whole semester. But yeah, my comprehension level was at the beginning of the class, I would say about the same as everyone else. Overall, it wasn't a bad class. We didn't have to speak in Dutch with the teacher, and the teacher would still speak a lot of German, which I thought at a B1 level, you know, the teacher should at least speak a little more Dutch, but they didn't. But that's okay. I didn't have to speak Dutch either, but I did every once in a while because I wanted to see how much better I would get throughout the semester. I did get a lot better, to be honest. It's still bad, but it's better than before. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for November. In November I didn't do much else. Then in December is when things started to get fun. But before I continue on my reading journey, which is basically what it is from December onwards, because I haven't listened to any Dutch, I haven't watched any Dutch YouTube since December. It's pretty much just a reading journey. I'll have to explain the level of comprehension so that you know what I'm talking about. Basically, as stated on the Refold website, there are 6 levels of comprehension, which go from 0 to 6. Wow, okay. With 0 being the lowest, meaning you don't understand anything. 1 being you understand a few words here and there, but it's still all weird gibberish. 2 being you understand a few more words and can every once in a while understand a sentence. 3 is you understand half of the words and some sentences, some more sentences, and you can get the general gist of what things are about. 4 is more than half of the words and a fair amount of sentences. You can follow the stories, but don't understand details. And Refold also says that with level 4 comprehension you don't understand where or why you don't understand things. But that wasn't the case for me. Whenever I didn't understand something, it was mainly a vocabulary problem, because grammar has never really been a problem when reading. Like, I don't ever come across sentences where I don't understand the grammar, just because it's so similar to German. Level 5 comprehension is you understand close to everything, but the nuance is lost, and it's still an effort to read. For me, I feel like those two don't fit together. Like, if I understand close to everything and it's an effort, like, that doesn't make sense to me. So for me, level 5 comprehension is already no effort, but I still don't understand, like, nuances, I guess. And then level 6 comprehension is just basically understand everything. To me, level 6 comprehension is not that you understand literally every single word. I still consider it level 6 comprehension if I understand 99% of the text. But yeah, some people might think about these a little differently or interpret them a little different than what I just did, but this is basically how I categorized my comprehension of the books that I read. So yeah, in December I started reading Anna Karenina. I decided to read that book because it has also a really long story, and I thought that was maybe a bit better to get into the writing style of the author. I started with a level 2 comprehension, so that being I understood a few words, like a little, not quite half of the words, and every once in a while I would understand like whole sentences, but the beginning especially was very blurry in a way. Like the story was like, I kind of got what it's about, but there were parts where I was completely lost, and then some parts where I understood better what's going on. But that changed really quickly, and I finished the book with level 3 to 4 comprehension, so I could follow the story in general, but I still lost a lot of details because all the adjectives and stuff were still kind of blurry in a way. I think the biggest improvement I saw in that time was my reading speed. For the first 2 weeks or so, I would barely get through one link lesson. So then mid-December is when I started to be able to read a little faster, and by the end of December I could read about 2 lessons, 1.5 to 2 lessons on my commute. So I managed to finish that right on the 29th, I think, of December, which the last couple days before that I read so much at home because I really wanted to finish it before the new year. And then New Year I made language goals, and I was super motivated because I found my favorite book series. I imported it to Link, and that's what I have been reading for the last 2 months, which is Aragon. This is the German version. I just happen to have them at home. But yeah, of course I did my reading on Link. For comprehension levels, I started the first book at about level 3 comprehension. So I understood half of the words, a little more than half of the words. I got some sentences and I got the general gist of what was going on. The main problem was that it was like a lot of wizard vocabulary and war vocabulary. So that is, once I had learned that and like the rural kind of farmer life vocabulary, once I had gotten that, it became a lot easier. And I think I finished the first book at a solid 4 to 5, maybe 5, more like 4 comprehension. The second book I started back at level 3 comprehension, or like maybe 3 to 4, rather 3 though, and ended with a solid level 5 comprehension. The third book I started with a level 4 comprehension and ended it with a 5 to 6, sometimes 6, rather 5 though, comprehension. And the last book I read at about level 4 to 5 comprehension and finished it with level 6 comprehension. For the last half of the third book and basically all of the last book, I had pretty much no problem understanding what was going on, and I was just really into the story. So yeah, it was just words that every once in a while would pop out that I didn't know. In the last book, I have per lesson, I have about 20 to 30 links, so that means 20 to 30 words that I didn't know, which to me is just level 6. But yeah, I decided to read The Hobbit next, so that's what I started reading this week. I'm a little over halfway through, but one thing I noticed, which was a bit of a shock maybe, and a little sad and frustrating, mainly frustrating I would say, which is the first 3 pages of the first lesson of The Hobbit were really hard to get through because I was so lost with like the writing style. It's very different to Aragon, and so for that first lesson, maybe the second lesson as well, I would say I pretty much dropped back to level 2 or 3 comprehension. It was really frustrating, but then when I got into the writing style, and yeah, now I'm back at like level 5 comprehension. I would say there's a few words here and there still that I miss, but overall it's not an effort anymore to read. It's just words that keep coming up where I'm like, oh, I've seen this so many times, I just can't remember what it is. I thought that was really interesting to go from one author to another author, still in the same domain though, like it's still fantasy, but yeah, I knew that this was gonna happen as soon as I would start another book series. Of course, my comprehension is gonna go back a little, even more so if I had gone to another domain, which I decided not to do because I think I would be too frustrated. But yeah. Continue reading The Hobbit. I hope to finish it this week. I'll continue with Lord of the Rings, and I hope to finish it until my semester break is over, which is mid-April, or like, yeah, first week of April basically. But that would require me to read a lot, and I don't know. So after that, I think I might read one more fantasy book. I'll see if I can find something short, or I might switch domains in reading completely. With the beginning of March, I've also started to implement a little more listening into my daily studying, so that for the last couple days I've been like 30 minutes to an hour of like Dutch YouTube videos, just whatever I find interesting. I just look them up. I want to win the link challenge, and so I can get the badge. I know it's a perfect reason, but so other than that, I think I don't really have any more to share. I think this was enough progress for 6 months. It feels in a way like I'm speedrunning it, even though I know I'm very much cheating. Like, German as a native language and then Dutch, it's pretty much just a cheat code for a free speedrun. But I'm still really motivated to keep going, and I'm really excited that once I finish The Hobbit and once I'm through the Lord of the Rings series, that I could finally change like domain and see how is my comprehension in other domains. I'm excited for when my listening comprehension is at a bit higher level, when it caught up to my reading level basically. And I just want to continue speedrunning Dutch. Let's go!